Hey everyone, this is your favorite friend Jay or Jaylan Salah, as you formerly know her, film critic at Geek Vibes Nation and In Session Film. Ante Novakovic, director of Bloodline Killer, is here with me to talk about the movie, which I really enjoyed. I think it was a mix between a slasher film and at the same time a suburban horror film. So what I want to know is, Ante, drew you or made you realize I want to direct this film? Like, what brought you to the project?
So I was approached by James and Anthony Gaudioso, the Gaudioso twins who wrote the script to direct it. I had read the script, and some of the elements that you just spoke of is the fact that kind of amalgamation of a suburban horror film mixed with the slasher horror film. Um, I felt there was an innate tension in it that the family contained, in a way, was the epicenter of this world generationally and lineage secrets unfolding, and that kind of stuff could be more powerful than any kind of, not knowing the truth amongst each other foundationally as a family, and kind of having those hidden pieces, the ugly parts somewhere lurking, right? And kind of, I guess that's what the slasher kind of becomes for me in a way. And I guess that's what drew me to it. It's always this lurking synergy of what's in the background as opposed to what we're seeing in the foreground, right? And that's kind of that dichotomy of a world, and that coming to merge together is what drew me to it.
Exactly, exactly. And I think the idea of this masked killer always lurking, always present, having this omnipresence, I think it adds up to the haunting of the world, the tension, the generational trauma. So what I want to know is, okay, we have a film where there are people getting stabbed and getting tormented, and there's a lot of drama going on. How do you, as a director, ensure safety and a calm environment for actors to feel safe, but at the same time give it their all?
Oh, I mean, that's priority for me as a director. I take a lot of time and energy kind of put into pre-production and kind of working through a lot of these things so that they can go all the way and they know they're safe. Create that safety net around them, working with stunt coordinators, great stunt coordinators. We had Matt Philbin on this one specifically. Everything from our special effects, Brian Shuley and company. The great folks that we work with, and we slow everything down when we get into those active spaces. We take the time so that the crew knows, this is happening here. This is, everyone's in a safe, completely safe place, which allows them the freedom to go all the way, because then they know they're being watched. Everything's kind of been worked out, and they can go as far as they need to go.
This is awesome. So you have someone like Taryn Manning, whom I thought gave a great performance here. And she's off, like Orange is the New Black fame, and I love her personally. I felt like she had this amazing sinister vibe to her. So I want to know, how was it like casting her and getting her to bring her all, because I loved her energy here. And she played a great role too.
I love Taryn. I love Taryn. I'm a fan of Taryn. First of all, her talent. She's wildly talented. Wildly talented. She drops in and she's there immediately on set. She's there completely committed as an actress. And she absolutely correct. She pulled off a genius performance in this, just off, in all the right places. You know what I'm saying? Just fine tuning that. Working with her, I had the opportunity to work with her previously on a few different projects. So I had the luxury of knowing her previous. I worked with her on Sanction Evil just before this one, where she played in that film. She was brilliant in that film as well. So I had the kind of a little bit of shorthand, the luxury of having that ability to have that conversation with her on set and kind of find where the character is, and for her to just go, it was amazing. Really, really a luxury. The whole cast across the board as well was really, really beautiful to work with.
So, what is the appeal of directing horror? Like, why is horror such an interesting, or, like this kind of juicy genre to get your hands on and direct?
I think for me it becomes a thing of metaphor, and I see it in other films as well. You can discuss any kind of dynamic in a horror film, right? Like surface tension appears to be this, but if you look just right underneath the surface, it's really about this, right? Like it's about coming of age. Sometimes about there's a plethora of things you get to explore and talk about, and you could take it to extremes that you might not be able to take other material to, and it's accepted, it's embraced, right? You're able to go to the wildest part of the imagination in that world, right outside of sci-fi kind of thing. But horror, you can get really like, if the feelings are of anger, you can go to the most extreme part of rage and all that kind of,
Yeah.
depicted in ways that like maybe, it is a lot, but it kind of, I think it tugs at the basic nature of human beings in a way. We enjoy being scared. I remember as a kid, I enjoyed being scared, but I couldn't understand why. And I guess that's the continuing conversation,
So true.
right?
I
Yeah.
know. And okay, so which movies did you feel like they really scared you? Like, were there any movies that you felt had an impact on you, even at an
Oh,
early age or to this moment? Like, as an adult, you would walk into a movie feeling, I'm invincible, but then, okay,
I mean, look, everything, and I've said this in other few other things I've done. Everything from like, Toby Hooper's like Chainsaw Massacre to Poltergeist to Omen to Damien to Exorcist, to Candyman. They all kind of live at the back of your head. They all take up residency. Those are the complete, that's the residency that happens when you see it early on, right? I mean, the world between fake and real as a kid is like, I don't even
right.
know how they're letting kids watch those films back in the day, but those are the kind of films I grew up with. And I could not, like, nightmare fuel, but in the best way possible, because then it kind of made me go into like, how did they do that? How did they get the blood to go to that? How did they get this? What was the tension? What were the beats in between?
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes up residency, all those films.
So how did you create the presence of the skeleton? How did you make this haunting creature using your talent as a director? All the ideas of the lighting, all the ideas of the cinematography, everything worked perfectly to make this a haunting presence. I can't get out of still to this moment.
I thank you. I thank you that it lives. Hopefully it takes residency. That's what we hope for, right? We strive for. We strive that ominous thing takes residency. It was a lot of discussions, a lot of pre-production, a lot of work on what we were going to do with the lighting, how we were going to, not overexpose, underexpose, because a lot of this lives. I think a lot of it lives in the shadow, like the association with the shadow self, shadow mind. What lurks deep, deep down inside, as opposed to what we see clearly. So it's just this thing lurking. The idea of it lurking, whether it was in a frame or not. The idea was we shot it as if it was in the minds of the family members. It's kind of, you wouldn't have to peel too many layers to find out that someone's thinking, could it be? Is he here? Kind of thing, right? So I think we came to every scene that way, and the whole project that way specifically.
Definitely. And it was such a haunting presence. Thank you for creating it, bringing it into the world of nightmares. Which was the hardest scene to shoot? Like it could be something we couldn't expect, like not really a fight scene, maybe an emotional intense drama. I want to know which one was took you a lot.
Um, it's interesting that you say hardest. I don't know if there was a hardest. There's some scenes we had to reconfigure due to time. So then the imagination started coming into place, and we had to pull on our resources to kind of come up with, how do we keep the scene in the film, but not shoot it as written at certain moments. So that became a challenge, its own kind of thing. It's because you get limited sometimes, especially on the independent side. Um, so maybe it was more the challenge of having to reconfigure certain moments and not losing the resonance of the scene, because it was all important, right? Like it all kind of intertwines. So it gets really hard to kind of say, okay, to save time, let's get rid of it. Instead of that, it was, look, if we have this and this, and the visual gets this across, and the dynamic gets this across, let's go into it. I mean, maybe some of the more interesting scenes that took us on a little bit of a roller coaster
Please.
in the
Yes.
best way possible were with Bruce Dern.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
These were
That's
like the okay.
the therapy scenes, let's call them that, where
Yeah.
Mr. Dern was, because he has his own process, and I've worked with him before. So we created room around it,
What are
because he would go
imagine?
off into tangents during certain sections that had nothing to do with the story, but then came back around. So we'd let it roll until he kind of weaved his way back into the storyline, which is really always interesting.
So it's the way
But the
of
stuff in between gave it resonance. So
the idea between the director-actor dynamic. This is what made these scenes interesting because he had his own methodology and then you had yours. This is what made the
yeah.
scene. Wow. Okay. Who would have
Yeah.
expected the therapy scenes? Okay, with Bruce Dern are the
Well,
okay.
you know, it's just, yeah.
You'll
Because
always
it's,
be fun. Yeah.
there's a lot of truth in that space. And, and he had to find his own way into how to elicit that. And it wasn't always, it's just off script slightly. It wasn't the lines, so it's that relationship, which is interesting. We built more time into that.
Okay. So do you see franchise potential for Skeleton? Do you think Bloodline Killer can come 2, 3? Because I can.
Yes. Well, I mean, the script was written with that in mind specifically. We approached it that way, understanding this is a long history. There's a storyline and a lineage here, possibly generationally. So there's a certain through line that kind of connects. And I mean, when you watch it, I think that comes through as to that through line, and we think it kind of goes generationally. And so obviously, yes, we love the idea of being able to explore further, the realm of Bloodline Killer. Absolutely.
Okay, so Ante, thank you very much. I just enjoyed talking to you. It was amazing. We had an amazing conversation, and I can't wait for more from the Bloodline Killer. Can't wait for the world to watch it because it's a great movie. It will take residency in people's minds. I tell you that. So
We look forward to it. Thank you
yes,
so much.
thank you.
Thank you.